Hi, Sergeant Steve here. This video is based on a chapter from my recent book, Street Stoic, Ancient Philosophy, Modern Policing. In this book, I try to teach law enforcement officers the basics of Stoicism and help them understand all the benefits that Stoic philosophy has to offer them. This chapter is going to be on the Stoic concept of Amor Fati. Before I start reading, I just want to tell you guys, Amor Fati is probably my favorite concept in all of Stoicism. It is I find it infinitely useful. I use it all the time, all day, every day. As a matter of fact, I got it tattooed on my forearm because this is a discipline. It's a practice. It's something that you have to engage with and do all of the time to get the maximum benefit out of it. I catch myself slipping from time to time, and to cure that, I went ahead and tattooed it on my arm just as a reminder. So as I get into this chapter, just understand, if you are interested in things like resiliency or perseverance, getting through tough times, Amor Fati should be your go-to. I have practiced it, I've used it, I've taught it to others. We all pretty much agree that this is the way to go. So let's get started with the chapter. Amor Fati. This is a Latin phrase. Roughly, it translates to love of fate or love of one's fate. It is the practice of accepting and embracing everything that happens in life. It is understanding that the nature of the universe is change, and without change, we would not exist. Change is necessary for everything good that we have. A couple notes here on Amor Fati. First, while Stoic text or reading about Amor Fati, if you struggle with the word fate, say you just don't believe in fate, or you believe in something else altogether, like divine will or random chance, just replace the word fate with reality. It's all the same. What happens, happens. Or in more modern terms, it is what it is. Second note, Amor Fati is not telling you to be a passive pushover, become a punching bag. I'll explain more about that later, but it is the opposite of that. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, and then you will be happy." The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius said, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown onto it." I've heard this quote probably about 1,000 times in law enforcement. I don't know who first said it, but cops hate change. All of these things are relevant to when we're talking about Amor Fati. When I was a rookie officer, the shift commander announced a minor policy change one day when we were in shift briefing. I won't get into all the details here. All you really need to know is that policy change required officers to document things differently than the way they were already accustomed to doing it. It made sense to do it the new way because it made incidents easier to search in our system. It didn't require really any additional work. It just changed how a thing was done. I was really surprised to see how angry and frustrated many of the officers on my shift got over this news. Somebody slammed a table, and a couple guys were cursing about the change and the ignorance of the command staff. At the time, I thought I had been missing something. I noticed that one of the most senior cops in the room, he didn't react, or he didn't really seem to care. Later that night, I worked a call with that senior officer and took the opportunity to ask him, why did everybody get so mad about this policy change? I was wondering, if I was missing something or if I was just not understanding it. He laughed. He thought it was pretty funny that I asked this question, and he told me, it's just that cops hate change. When you're a rookie and the old guy drops some wisdom on you, you listen. So big shout out to Mike, aka Mad Dog. He had obviously seen it all enough times, and he was no longer getting worked up about minor changes. I always respected that about him, and I've always tried to be like Mike. Truth be told, I haven't been perfect, and a few times I've had that instant rage response to pointless changes made by the command staff or other people in charge. I think we all have from time to time. I tell that story because I know Amor Fati is going to be a tough pill for some officers to swallow. Amor Fati is an important part of Stoicism. It will be a key piece of your Street Stoic arsenal once you wrap your mind around it. This one is going to take some explaining, and if you're going to implement it, it's going to take more than a little bit of practice. It's worth the effort and it's worth the work once you realize the power that Amor Fati gives you. Amor Fati means to love everything that happens, and treat it like it was something that was supposed to happen. Not only are you not supposed to hate change, you're supposed to love it. Obviously, with Mad Dog's wisdom in mind about cops hating change, I know there's going to be some resistance to the idea. This is a difficult one to explain to anyone, especially officers. I'm going to try to explain to you why Amor Fati is the only logical way to view the world. First, you can't stop change. Every breath you take is new air entering and leaving your body. Breathing is change. If you don't change, you will die. The philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." Second, change is always beneficial to someone or something. Every change in nature is good for something else in nature. I'm sure you heard of the circle of life before. I won't bore you with examples of how the seed becomes the mighty oak or how the caterpillar becomes a butterfly. Instead, consider how a rookie becomes a seasoned officer, or how the follower transforms into a good leader. Nature is a constant cycle of change, transformation, death, and rebirth. You are part of nature, a part of the circle of life. To resist it is pointless. It will only upset you and make you make foolish decisions. It'll make you anxious. Think about this question. Can anything important happen without some kind of change? Let me make another note here. You are part of nature. Don't let houses, cars, processed foods, internet access, all that fool you. You're an animal. You're a thinking animal with technology, but you're still an animal and you're still part of nature. Third, what if there was no change? How bored would you be? How stagnant and unfulfilling would life be? How could you ever achieve anything? How could you grow? Hopefully, at this point, you have accepted that change is inevitable. Change is beneficial, and change can be good for you. By this point in the video, I'm sure you must be thinking something like this. Yeah, sure, some change is good, but other changes suck for me. And you want me to love them? Yes, I do. You're not wrong, it's true. Some changes can suck, especially depending on how you look at them. But let me ask you a question. What good has not accepting change ever done for you? What good has not accepting or hating change ever done for you? My guess is not much good. It's probably made you upset. Remember, all of this Stoicism stuff, all these things I'm talking about, the goal at the end of it is to make you happy, peaceful, tranquil, and content all of the time, not just when things are going well. At least that's the ideal. Being resilient and non-fragile will help you go a long way towards achieving that goal. You need to practice this because you are a law enforcement officer and you're going to experience a lot of stuff in life. Stuff that people who don't practice Amor Fati, who don't practice Stoicism, would consider bad. But you don't have to consider it bad. You can change your mind about a lot of things. If nothing else, you'll be able to turn that dial down. You can take it from a 10 to a 4. You can make some progress and improve your life in some way. Let's use a rainy day as an example. Let's say you had plans to go out fishing or boating with your friends. You are looking forward to the day. You wanted to go swimming. It's a lot of fun. You like hanging out. But at the last minute, a storm blew in. And now it's pouring down rain and thundering and lightning. The weather forecast shows that it's going to storm all day long. You really need to accept reality or fate as it is, because not accepting reality has a lot of consequences. In this example, the trip is off. Nobody's going out on the boat in the storm. If you show up with your cooler wearing your water wings at the boat dock, you're going to be standing there alone. That's going to lead to you being frustrated and angry. Maybe you try to convince a friend to join you in ignoring the weather. They might just wonder, why are you trying to get them to screw up? Why are you trying to get them to go out and do something dangerous? You're going to hurt a relationship with a friend. It's probably going to cause you some unhappiness. Let's say you stubbornly go out boating in the storm and get capsized. Now the Coast Guard has to come out and get you. They have to risk their lives to come save you. That's not helping anybody. People might wonder if you had lost your mind, not seeing what is obvious to everybody else. Now, let's flip it. Let's say you do accept, hey, there's a storm, there's nothing I can do about it. This is the hand that fate dealt to me today. So, you decide to do something else. You could use the day to work on your business idea and make some progress. Your good attitude towards adversity might impress someone who was kind of on the fence about you, and they decided to go ahead and give you an opportunity. They saw that you could handle a little bit of stress, and this turned out to have huge benefits down the road. Or, one possible outcome is you had a friend who had been secretly struggling with not drinking and alcohol use. They were going to be on the trip where everybody usually drinks and has a few beers. The friend uses the opportunity to tell you about their problem and admits to you they probably would have drank on the trip just to fit in. Instead, you're there to help a friend. The truth is, you never know with life. You never know when you thought something was unfortunate, but it turns out to be a stroke of luck instead. Now, another little side note here, death and grief are exceptions to this rule. Sometimes things just suck. Bad things happen. In the case of death, I would never, ever advise anybody to just look on the bright side. The key here is to decide ahead of time that no matter what happens, you are going to love it. That way, no matter what happens, you are happy. You feeling sad, mad, or angry doesn't change what happens anyways. Throw away your expectations. Throw away the idea of should be. Should be is making you miserable. Your expectations of life and people are making you miserable, and it's not helping you or anyone else. Whatever happens, love it. Think about it. What thing has ever happened to you that was, let's say it was bad, did you not eventually accept and then eventually make the best use of, or use it to help you grow in some way? Did something horrible happen that made you stronger? That strength is part of who you are now. If you could, would you go back to being weaker? Would you go back to the way you were before? Let's say you were fooled by somebody. They tricked you. You fell for it. But now, you're wiser. You figured out that people sometimes will deceive you. You are a little smarter now than you were before the bad thing happened. Would you ever go back and be ignorant if you had the choice? Probably not. The point is, no matter what happens to you, you can choose to be upset or mad or angry. But eventually, that bad situation is going to improve your life in some way. You can take weeks, months, or even years to realize it and spend a lot of time in therapy to get there. Or you can just practice Amor Fati. Am I saying just make the best of it? Sure, in some ways I am, because the opposite is pretty unacceptable to me. The opposite of that is don't make the best of it. Suffer, be miserable. If an injustice or something that's wrong in the world is happening to you, I'm not saying love that injustice or love that wrong thing. Clearly, you need to fight it. But now, you need to love the fact that you are committed to a righteous battle and love the fact that you have a cause to fight for. Everybody wants purpose. You have a purpose. Using the same example, maybe you were unsure whether you should fight or not, and they just pushed you over the limit. Then love that. Love the fact that you've learned how to be relentless, and they have no idea who they just started a fight with. Love that you get a chance to show them what a Stoic can do. Love that you already know that they can't break you, because you will just love the abuse, you will use it to make you stronger, and you will use it to show that you won't be broken and build respect from those around you. Love it all. Or you can be a victim. It's your choice. You can find the good in everything, if you simply reject the idea that the whole point of life is to avoid pain and discomfort and to seek out pleasure. You are in control of what you think and what you feel. You can train yourself to find the good in all life and see problems as opportunities. Or you can whine at every little discomfort. You can keep on using the old operating system, but you know that stress and misery that comes along with it. That's probably why you're watching this video. You're looking for a better way. This is it. This is the better way. There's no third magical option. Amor Fati. Love what happens. Why? Because hating what happens doesn't change things one little bit. Zero. This is the mentality of the winner, and this is how unstoppable people think. Do you want to be relentless? This is how you think. This is your key to a better existence. This is important stuff. Amor Fati is important for the average person. It's even more important for the first responder. I will in the future provide you with lots of tools that you can use. When it comes to using Amor Fati, the only thing I can suggest is repetition. Every time a situation comes up, think to yourself, this is a good thing. It might take you a minute to figure out why it's good, but you just have to have some faith that you're going to figure it out. If nothing else, many situations give you the opportunity to practice your resiliency and your strength. Also, don't just say, I get to be strong in every situation. Usually there are several good aspects to everything, even if it doesn't seem like it's a good thing at the time. Work hard to understand them and find them. When you fail, not if, when, understand that it is okay. This is Stoicism. There are no sins and nobody to disappoint besides for yourself. Just recognize that you fell short and be ready to try again next time. If you keep at it, you will develop the love of fate mindset and the benefits will become apparent. Just another couple notes before I wrap up. Amor Fati only applies to you and you alone. You can share the idea with people, but don't insist on it with other people, especially people who haven't studied Stoicism. There's a risk of developing something called toxic positivity. The goal here is finding good in everything that life has to offer, not shoving good vibes down other people's throats. You don't want to be unsympathetic to the problems of other people. Another note, just to reiterate, Amor Fati does not apply to the death of a loved one or someone who is grieving. When you are dealing with citizens who just lost someone, please do not suggest that there's a bright side. The loss of a friend or family member is always a tragedy, and trying to apply Amor Fati is not advised. Grief is powerful and real. It is a true loss and not a minor inconvenience that can be looked at as a good thing. Thank you for watching the video, and check out the channel for more videos here in the future. I'm hoping to get through all these chapters within the next few months. Take care. Be safe out there. Amor Fati.